Hey World History, welcome to U2L3, The Old Kingdom. Again, my name is Miss Corey. Um, yeah, you'll just see me a lot during the semester. All right, so The Old Kingdom, that is going to be between 2686 to 2160 BCE. Yeah, that's a long time ago. All right, so before we begin today, I just want to ask you a few questions because we've done a few ed puzzles. We're like in the fourth week of school. So, my question is, how is world history course going for you? Do you have any questions about the course or the work? Do you have any questions about the ed puzzles? Anything at all to let me know? If you have nothing to say, you can just write none, but I'd love to hear your feedback. All right, so your job today, as always, you're going to watch the ed puzzle. You're going to answer the questions. The questions I ask you today in blue text. I just want you to answer on the ed puzzle, like when it pauses and the little thing pops up. Any important concepts that I want you to write on your study guide will be in red text. And of course, if you have questions, please email me or Mrs. Hinkle, and you can certainly come to the office hours. All right, learning targets describe the development, characteristic, and decline of civilizations in Egypt. All right, you're probably thinking, like, hold up, Miss Corey. What the heck do you even know about ancient Egypt? That is a really good question. Like, what do I know about ancient Egypt? Ah, yes. My degree is in ancient history. I don't know everything about Egypt. I will tell you that right now, but I have taken multiple classes on ancient Egypt. I have 7 books about ancient Egypt. I took History 3051, which is all about ancient Egypt, and my thesis paper for my degree is in ancient Egypt. So, ancient Egypt is my favorite topic, and I feel bad that we can't spend more time on it because it's so cool. So, let's get started with the Old Kingdom today. So again, this is the very brief version of it. We were talking 2686 to 2160 BCE. We're going to talk about pyramids today because that's probably one of the most iconic things about ancient Egypt, but also foreign relations with Lebanon, Libya, and Nubia. So pyramids, like, why do historians want to study pyramids? Like, what's so fascinating about them? Well, there's a lot of different things you can learn from pyramids. One of the first things is Egyptian math and technology. Also royal power, because there's a giant triangle in the middle of a desert. Like, someone has power to build that. Egyptian wealth, human organization, especially organizing so many people to build such a giant triangle. Government control, glorification of the pharaoh, and also the religious temples that are inside of the pyramids themselves. So there are some not great parts of pyramids. The first thing about them is that there's very few inscriptions in pyramids themselves. Like, you would think, like, oh, this is like some giant grave. There must be like all the stories about like what the pharaoh did. There's some stuff, but there's not a lot. And also pyramids are robbed a lot, um, which I'm sure you all are probably aware of that. So a lot of the artifacts are gone. And sometimes even the dead body of the mummy is gone, which is gross. Like, what would you even do with that? Ew. So the 3 most famous pyramids are the Great Pyramids of Giza. So here are a picture of them right here. So the first question that I have, or actually the second question I have for you today, is you are going to name 3 things you notice on the map about the Pyramid of Giza's site. All right, let's look into this a little bit. All right, so the Great 3 Pyramids of Giza are actually, like, the pharaohs who commissioned them are all related. So the father is pyramid, or the father's pyramid is Khufu, and he ruled from 2589 to 2566. And then the next pyramid is his son, Khafra, who ruled from 2558 to 2532. And then the smaller pyramid is the grandson, Menkaura, who ruled from 2532 to 2503. So that's why they're all related to each other. Other things that I want to point out here includes like the Great Sphinx, which during the video choice, you have the option of watching the video about the Great Sphinx, and how it was really kind of like an entryway into the pyramids. There's also a temple next to the Great Sphinx as well. And then here's kind of that hallway leading up to the Pyramid of Khafra. Other really cool things is that they actually buried boats into the pyramids themselves. Boats to show like power, military power, but also like to be used into the afterlife. Other things include like the queen's tombs. So there's some smaller pyramids. I know my little thing is in the way right now, but there's some smaller pyramids. Oh, actually, yeah, you could see them back there too. So those would be the Queen's pyramids. Another really interesting thing is a lot of political and royal figures were also buried into like smaller tombs, not pyramids, just more of like mausoleums. And then also there's evidence of the builders' quarters next to the pyramids. So the people who built the pyramids themselves, that's where they would live, right there on site, ready to haul a bunch of limestone up a triangle. All right, enough about that. Oh, here's another photo of it. It's cool. Hey, if anyone's ever been there, you should let me know. I've never been there before, but I would love to hear it if any of you have been there. So there are a ton of rulers and pharaohs from the Old Kingdom. If you're wondering who exactly, here's a giant list of them, and I'm not going to go through all of them because we would be here forever. So we're going to just talk about foreign relations today in the Old Kingdom. So the Old Kingdom is really kind of unique because it was a lot more isolated from like the outside world of Egypt than in the Middle and the New Kingdom. There was still trade going on and wars going on, but it just wasn't as common. And they were also very peaceful with other nations, especially in the Middle East. The pharaohs weren't so peaceful with places like Nubia and Libya, though. If you don't know where Nubia and Libya are, here's Libya right here. I'll show you Nubia later. It's on a different map. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about foreign relations. So they definitely created boats to sail to places like Lebanon to do trade. So here's Lebanon. You can see that they would just go into the Mediterranean Sea and go get supplies, especially wood. So Lebanon had a lot of mountains, so that meant they had a lot of strong timber. They also peacefully occupied the Sinai Peninsula. If you don't know where that is right here, is that weird kind of dip right before you hit the Middle East in Egypt. And in the Sinai Peninsula, there was a lot of turquoise and copper that was mined. There was also a lot of Egyptian-made goods found in Syria, which is way up here. So we definitely know that there was a lot of trade going on in the Old Kingdom. All right, so Nubia. Nubia is the area of land south of Egypt. Today we would call that area like in modern day Sudan. So you can see here kind of in that pinkish color, that's where Nubia is. So during the Old Kingdom, it was not unified and had a lot of different chiefdoms in that Nubia area. But there's a really major region in Nubia called Yam that I'm going to focus on. Yam is kind of like right here where I have Kerma highlighted. So it'd be right here, right on the Nile. All right, so Yam. Or you could say yam, like the potato thing, I guess. So Yam is really important because it had a lot of very valuable goods, including frankincense, myrrh, animal skins, gold, ivory, which is animal tusks, especially from like elephants, and also ebony wood. I know you're thinking like, ooh, frankincense, myrrh, and gold. That sounds familiar. If you're familiar with like Christianity, yes, those were the three gifts that, according to the Bible, Jesus was brought. They probably came from Nubia. Also, Pharaoh Pepi II sent his military commander to raid Nubia for materials and capture people for slavery. So there was that happening too during this time period. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. What a cliffhanger. So today we learned about the characteristics of the Old Kingdom. We also talked about pyramids and we talked about Nubia. So we skipped a lot, as you totally can see. If you do have any questions, please contact your teacher. If you want to learn more, feel free to email me. I'd love to tell you more. My office hours are Mondays from 12 to 1. Mrs. Hinkle's are from 2 to 3. Either class can go to either of those. And if you're in my class, do the weekly check-in. It's not mandatory, but I love responding to you all. And that's all I got. Oh, next up, you're going to do the U2L4 Middle Kingdom Edpuzzle. That's all I got. Let me know if you have questions. Bye.